All right, guys, it's another Thursday on the Entrepreneur Speaker Series, and I'm so excited to be back here with you with a phenomenal guest. And before I'm going to give an introduction, I'm so grateful for everybody tuning in yet again. You could be anywhere else, yet you chose to be here, and that is the first step in the right direction, right? Showing up and taking advantage of interviews like these. And I think today we're all in for a treat because Matt CRUMP is our next featured guest, and he has a phenomenal story. And we're going to dive deep today, and it's full of golden lessons. And Matt has a really wonderful story. But before I'm going to give him a warm welcome, guys, let me give you a little bit of background on Matt CRUMP. He's just a wonderful person and high performance entrepreneur. But before he was the person that he is today, Matt have done a lot of things. And as a matter of fact, Matt was in the Army, right? After leaving the U.S. Army in the Gulf War in 1992, Matt completed a degree in theology and biblical studies. That's very different, but what it means is that Matt has such a wide perspective on life, on philosophies, on principles, on values. So I'm very excited to be talking about those. But on a more serious note, Matt is also a cancer survivor, right? Sometimes you don't always control what happens to you in life, but you definitely control in how you respond to what happens. So I'm looking forward, Matt, to also speak a little bit about your history in cancer. And I certainly had my fair share in my surroundings dealing with cancer. So I think we have a lot to discuss today. But first and foremost, Matt, I'm very grateful for you jumping on the Entrepreneur Speaker Series and on this Thursday. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing fantastic, Rob. Super excited to be here, and thanks for the invitation. I'm excited to get into some really cool stuff here today.
Absolutely. I asked you earlier on when we were just chatting backstage, right? But maybe to kick us off, win, lose, learn. Why did you choose that sign behind you? And it's so prominent. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I thought it was cool. One. Yes. But it really speaks to a lot of things that happen in our lives, specifically what happens and what's been happening in mine. And really the understanding of what it is to win. Obviously, we understand what it is to lose. And many times I thought that my losses were quite the end of some things, where some of those losses actually became the beginning of something incredible. So what may have been a loss actually turned into something very, very powerful.
And what would you say? So you have win, you have lose. What would you say learn, in your opinion, stands for?
Yeah, well, time has a way of teaching us many, many things, that's for sure. And we can choose to ignore them, or we can choose to embrace them. And there's been many times, as I mentioned, those losses as well as the victories all have something that we can take from and learn from. Mm-hmm. Some places people can become complacent or numb in certain areas or situations, or we can embrace them, as I mentioned. So we should always be in a position of learning in our lives. I don't think anybody ever has arrived as far as being like the most. Like, that person can never learn any more. They know everything there is to ever know. That just says nobody. So it's really an opportunity for us to continue to grow in our lives personally from all of our experiences.
Beautiful. And what I'm hearing, and I personally love that, Matt, so you said learn and grow, right? So if you tie those two together, because we can learn something, and there's this funny saying where sometimes I say, don't be the donkey, right? Meaning hitting your head to the wall, the same place, the same time over and over and over again. But if you actually pair up learning with growing, in other words, like you actually learn from that experience, and then it allows you to take better decisions. I think that's just an everyday philosophy, that if you learn from every situation, big or small, it always opens ways for a new direction or possibly new outcomes. Would you agree?
I totally agree. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great way to start off, and I'm very excited, Matt, to dive a little bit into memory lane here. So at the moment, can you just summarize, because I know you do a lot, right? You're a high performance coach, you're certified empowerment leader and coach. You're also a speaker, content creator, social media. You know, there's a ton of Matt CRUMP, but what would you describe is your core purpose at this moment?
Yeah, so my 25-cent statement is really that, that I help executives, entrepreneurs, and euphoric individuals align beliefs with action to live a life of abundance. So it's my desire to help people overcome life obstacles to achieve their number one goal and really live in that place of abundance, right? Whether it's a culture of abundance in business or abundance personally. So those three main areas, obstacles, goals, and abundance, are really the core of what my mission is in life. All the things I've been through and experienced all come into those areas. And I now have an opportunity to help people to achieve those things in their own.
Beautiful. That's, you know, so good, right? I believe if you are in alignment with your purpose, and usually your purpose is what you discover along the way, hopefully, right? Not everybody has arrived to that point yet, but if you can live your life on purpose, right? It's just a beautiful state to be in, because you wake up with gratitude and determination to make a difference. And by helping more people, the more satisfaction that you get. So it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy. And paired up with growth and abundance, like you said, right? It's just a beautiful thing. So Matt, how do you wake up, just for the viewers? And we have a lot of high performance in the audience, right? We do a bunch of things in our community. And one of the things is, for example, the 5 a.m. club. It's where people wake up determined to have a morning formula, right? Practice gratitude, maybe meditation, reading. But what is abundance when you start the day, Matt? I'm very curious.
Well, of course, we all start the day. We go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay.
Let's just be real.
Yeah.
And sometimes people's times start there, and it could be a long period of time there, a short period of time.
Yeah.
And there's really a great opportunity to take use of those moments in our lives when they're kind of downtime, really personal time, right? And what do you do during those moments, right? So for me, a lot of those times are just reflection, thought processes of what's coming up, how to pursue certain things. I'm a follower of Christ, so I try to spend time in prayer. I spend time looking through scripture. I don't get to do that every morning, as I mentioned. That comes up sometimes, maybe late in the afternoon, sometimes that evening, right? I'm not perfect, so things happen in life, and you got to move with it. But you know, to be able to have that place of some folks refer to it as mindset, but even when it comes down to our jobs or whatever, like some folks consider some of the things that they do as a job, but I look at it as a calling. Like, so I think there's a big difference between living into your calling and waking up every day for your employment, your job, your thing, right? Whatever the case may be, even though you might like it.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between a job and a call. And when you wake up inside of a calling, when you have that purpose, right? That plan, when you have that internal confirmation of what you're doing is the right thing, then some of those things kind of work themselves out. You follow along with where that calling goes, because not all the times do you expect, like, oh, I'm going to do this at this moment, or I'm going to stand in line at the grocery store and pay for my groceries, and I'm going to plan on meeting one person who's going to change my life, right? I mean, you have no idea when those things occur. So to be able to live into who we are, what we're doing, I think it really starts from the moment we wake up, and we plan for those things throughout the rest of the day. It's really a great opportunity kind of just to get set, get ready, and go.
Beautiful. And Matt, I can just feel the passion and the energy that is already in this room here, right? Even though in the virtual room that we are in nowadays, that's kind of our new reality. So Matt, would you say that gratitude, right? Gratitude for the daily things in life, gratitude for having another opportunity to help more people, is that a practice, or is that something that is part of you? Where do you stand?
Yeah, it's both and. I believe that it should be a part of who we are. I've learned many things through the experiences that I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about here today, that have shaped and molded me into who I am. And some of those things are just a natural default, right? And then we have opportunity to press into those areas. So because I do have and practice into a life of abundance and freedom, and because I have gratitude in my life, doesn't mean that I can't be selfish. Doesn't mean that I can't ignore realities that may be in front of me and say, I don't care, I don't want to go there today, right? I mean, sometimes we have to press into those places in our lives. Doesn't mean that I'm no longer a person of gratitude. It just means I'm not living into the fullness that I'm created to live into. So yeah, it's a matter of both and, where you're actually living into, again, that calling versus job, when you're living into the reality of who you are.
Beautiful. Hey, Matt, we got a couple of incoming comments for you. They're saying, Andres is saying, Matt, gratitude is such a beautiful habit that we need to develop, and I think the world needs more of. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's so easy for us, especially in today's world. I don't think social media, which I think is a great tool, isn't always the greatest thing, because we can grow very distant, although we are, we're socially connected and we've got thousands of followers and all these likes and everything, but yet, we don't really have any real connection with people at some points in our lives, right? So yeah, it's so important to understand how to employ those things and not forget who you are, not forget what's important.
Yeah, 100%. Just gonna thank Maggie, Christiana, Jose, Andres. They're all tuning in. They're saying this is a phenomenal topic and they're excited to dive in. So, Matt, I'm gonna take us a little bit back to memory lane here. And you kind of mentioned, right, there's some events that happened throughout your journey that kind of really shaped the course of your direction, and it maybe even have changed your thinking. So can you take us back all the way to when Matt Crump was just, maybe joining the army, where you're just, trying to pursue a career, and what were some of those lessons, those aha moments that kind of altered that direction? Can you maybe talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to start a little bit before the army, because the army was a result of something that I was running away from. So started about 10 years old, started smoking cigarettes out in the back with a friend and hiding cigarettes from the family. And of course, after a while, you realize that parents aren't as dumb as we thought they were.
Right. Yeah. I don't smoke. Right.
Yeah. So I got busted and by my neighbor's mother, but I never stopped smoking. I kept on going there, which led into some other things. But by the time I was 13, I was really frustrated with life and decided I wanted to end it all. Went to my room, put a plastic bag around my head, wrapped it up with tape, and I wanted to kill myself. And right when things were getting really, really bad and the pain was setting in, darkness was ready to go, I freaked out and I ripped the bag off my head. I realized now that then I didn't really want to die. I just didn't want to live the way I was living. Fast forward through high school, I get involved with drugs and alcohol. Moving towards my time into the military, I run away from home basically by going into the military, and go further into drugs and alcohol, drug and alcohol addiction. And then within a period of time, I get stuck in duty with a fellow friend of mine who was in the desert. We were in the desert together, and alone on guard duty for a week. Here I am, the life of the party, Mr. Crazy, Mr. Wild Guy, Mr. Party Animal, and I'm with a guy who used to be a former drug dealer and converted to Christianity. So we're out there for a week. He starts sharing some things with me that I had never really heard before. I didn't have a big change in my life at that moment, but there was some things happen because I'm a relational guy. I love people. And I wanted to really have a connection with this fellow. I really wanted to have a friendship with him, but he kept staying distant from me to a point that's like, I don't understand why doesn't he like me? Everybody likes me. Why does this guy like me? I'm fun, right? So he said, man, I just want to tell you that I can't be the friend to you that you really want, because there's certain places I won't go with you. And that really rocked my world. So within a matter of time, I started really debating some of the things he was sharing with me. Obviously, I made a big change in direction in my life and thoughts, and we ended up walking to the top of a mountain in the middle of the desert. I don't know if you've ever been to a desert at nighttime, but the stars are like a billion stars in the sky. Yeah. It was full moon. We go to the top of this mountain, and the moonbeam is just shining right down on top of both of us. And he grabbed my hands and prayed with me, and I ended up giving my life to Christ. At that moment, I was delivered from drugs, alcohol, running around, doing all the crazy stuff I was doing. Everything changed. So then, of course, fast forward a little bit more. We go into the war. The Gulf War occurs. We deal with all the mess of war. I'm going to go into all that right now. It's pretty obvious. And then ended up getting out of the Army, wanting to get my degree in theology, to become a chaplain in the military. After I got my degree, I never did go back to the military. I stayed in the civilian world and been serving ever since. And during that process of time, I became an entrepreneur, a business owner. I got a recording contract as a singer and songwriter, traveled around the world. I mean, I've done so many things throughout those years that have changed the trajectory of who I am today. Of course, 2011, we'll talk about in a second, was when I first found out that I had cancer.
Wow. And Matt, before we go there, we have a lot to talk about, but I want to recap real quick, because I think there's certain times when people sometimes feel that they're stuck in a certain situation, certain, things happen, they seem to happen and reoccur into their lives. But I want to take this as a learning moment, because you had a tremendous roller coaster ride over there from one extreme to another. But I want to say, if we listen carefully to Matt's story, guys, you can make different decisions. And because you make different decisions, you can have a different outcome. So Matt, what do you think that, besides all the little details that were part of that journey, what was the biggest aha moment from that whole process? Like you said, the age of 10 all the way up to, coming out of the Army, transitioning into entrepreneurship. What was the key takeaways in that journey for you?
Yeah, I always felt like there was more to life. I always felt like there was something bigger for me to do. I didn't know what that was. And I did have a void that was in my life. I felt an emptiness in some areas. And from the outside looking in, it wouldn't have made sense for me to say that sentence, but it was reality. And it wasn't really until that mountaintop experience that I found out what that was. And that changed the trajectory of my entire life. Everything that I was doing and living into became not who I was or the titles that I had, but whose I was and what my purpose and call was in life. And that really is what changed it all for me.
Wow. So different thinking then produced different results.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I could have continued in the path that I was going, but we wouldn't be talking right now because I'd be dead. Yeah. But it really, really has transformed my life and, the direction of where things go.
Yeah. And guys, I told you this is going to be good. And I just expressed so much enthusiasm, right? Because life, nobody tells you it's easy, right? Life happens, and sometimes you're pulled in different directions. And sometimes we are a little bit directionless at times, right? But it's stories like these that show you that there's always a way, right? If you seek the right information and also the right guidance, that's why coaching and mentorship is so important. The right guidance backed with the right information and the right action can change the trajectory of your results. And Matt, we arrived to a place where you mentioned you discovered that you got cancer. Can you talk to us a little bit about and share what happened during that time?
Yeah, it's funny how things can work out. But I had a hernia that went bad. And I had to go to Duke, which is a very popular medical organization in the world. And I had to go there for this botched surgery to a specialist. And when I went there, my wife had been noticing some spots on my back that had been bothering her. I mean, how often do we stare at our own backs, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't that big of a deal.
Like an unfamiliar territory over there.
Yeah, no doubt, right? So anyway, the doc took a look at me and she said, well, there's no way we're going to do this hernia surgery until this is looked at, because this is pretty serious. And she was right. At that point, I was already stage 2. So I ended up having to have a surgery and then a second surgery back at Duke. During that period of time, it looked as if things were getting better. And I was given an all clear after about 1 year of that process. Fast forward to 2015. I'm on stage getting ready to perform, getting ready to sing. And right before I go on, I start coughing up blood. Now, I had been a little congested that week, but I'd never coughed up blood before. But I thought maybe I've got a bad bronchitis or something's going on, whatever. I'll just take some more pills and I'll be okay in a day or two. I ended up having to go to the doc, saw a friend of mine, did some x-rays. They thought I had walking pneumonia. So I had to do some antibiotics for about a week. Nothing changed. Came back and my friend took a look at the x-rays. He said, hey, I think you need to go back to Duke. And I said, for pneumonia? What do I need to go to Duke pneumonia for, right? He said, no, Matt, I think the cancer's back. And he was right, except at this point I was already stage 4.
Wow.
Started in my adrenal gland, by my kidney wall, by my leg. I had 3 tumors there. And by this point I'd had a lung tumor.
And real quick, man, how did you like mentally respond when you found out, when you got the news, right? How did you mentally respond to that?
Yeah, interesting question. And for those of us that have been through cancer or any type of terminal disease, sometimes it's tough to put words on that. But we all have this like community, and we know. However, really for that moment, I wrestled with a couple of things. One, I didn't wrestle with my faith. I was pretty firm in that. Mm-hmm. But I did question kind of like, how could this possibly have happened to me? How did this happen, right? And I wrestled with some of that. I wrestled with driving down the road and you just out of nowhere, a song comes on or something happens. And I think about my daughter getting married and walking her down the aisle and thinking, what if I'm dead and I can't walk her down the aisle, right? I mean, just things hit you like bricks. Yeah. It was very tough. But if it weren't for my faith, if it weren't for the things that I knew that were true versus that was truth rather versus true, like true is you've got cancer, you got stage 4 cancer, you're going to die. Truth is that I believe that the Bible told me that by his stripes I was healed. I was going to have life, right? Mm-hmm. So fast forward, it's 5 years, and I just had my last brain surgery 5 months ago. I've been dealing with nonstop issues from this disease. My quality of life has been quite ruined. I have chronic fatigue, chronic pain, degenerative disc disease, rheumatoid arthritis, permanent nerve damage. I take 32 pills a day right now. I mean, there's a lot of things that happened in my life that have been destroyed. And recently, I just made a choice to cut off this long beard I've had for a very long time, up until about a month ago, which is part of my cancer battle. Because I really felt that when cancer is interjected into your life at that moment in 2015, I said, the first thing that typically happens when you start any type of treatment for cancer is you lose your hair. So I've always had a beard. I had one about this length then, and I said, I'm not gonna cut my beard anymore. I'm gonna let it grow.
You were making a statement.
Cancer's not gonna take it.
Yes.
And there will be a day where I feel like I've got a good place and all clear that I'll make the decision when this comes off, not cancer.
Yeah.
And, that was about a month ago when they told me that my last MRI showed that my brain was clear from cancer, that my PET scan was good. I still have a spot that's a tumor site that's been there for a long time, but it hasn't really gone anywhere. So I felt like, do I continue living life as a cancer patient waiting for the next tumor to occur? Or when do I draw a line in the sand and say, that's enough? I'm no longer going to continue to wait for all the problems to hit me, but I will say I'm now going to move into a position of being a cancer survivor. So that's what I did recently. Does that mean that they're going to tell me next month when I go back to Duke that I don't have another tumor? It could happen. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to live for that anymore. I'm not going to wait for that news anymore. I'm going to live into a place of freedom, of abundance, all the things I've been running my mouth about for so long. It's time to say, all right, Matt, draw the line in the sand, cut the thing off, let's move forward. And that's really where I'm at today.
And real quick, Matt, I'm very curious. So sometimes it feels that some of these experiences in life, they're very heavy, right? They may be weighing on you mentally. They may be weighing on you physically, like you mentioned, right? It has all kinds of forms and manifestations. So that leads us into today's topic, how to overcome the obstacles and then turn it into an opportunity to reach your higher goal, right? So can you maybe talk to us in how you took that decision where you just explained like, look, I got it, but do I choose to continue to live under the label as a cancer patient? Or do I just cut that tie and take control of life and start taking actions in the direction of who I choose to become? So Can you talk to us a little bit about that process? Because I can imagine that a lot of people might be thinking, well, Matt, I've experienced, some of the things of my own, but it's the mental pressure that is just weighing down, and it keeps me trapped. So what would you say to the audiences in how to cut the ties and literally take a different decision at that moment?
Yeah, great question. I guess I can kind of give another example of smoking. So let's say that you've been smoking cigarettes 2 packs a day, and they have all kinds of things you can do to take pills or whatnot to try to stop smoking, put patches on, things of that nature. But here's the reality. When I was smoking cigarettes, I tried to quit probably 1,000 times. And there's a big difference between quitting and delivered in the sense of, where's that place, again, where that line is drawn into the sand, right? So you have to really get to the place where, in the sense of smoking cigarettes, that you say, you know what? I actually hate this in my life. I hate what it does to me. I know it's taking years off. I know I probably stink when I smoke. I know that these things are nasty, right? So I actually hate this, don't want it anymore. So when you go to places and you try to make those transitions and changes, but really on the inside, you're like, I kind of still like this.
Yeah.
I kind of enjoy these moments. I don't really, I wish it wasn't like this all the time, but I kind of, right when that happens, forget moving to the next stage. It's not going to happen. It's until you make that decision to say, look, I'm done with this. I hate this. Isn't going to happen anymore. And that's not an easy place to get to. And sometimes it requires help. It requires, an outside influence for an internal change. And it might require somebody that helps you as a coach, a consultant, a counselor, a friend, a husband, a wife, whatever, to be an accountability in your life to say, now remember you said you wanted to stop this. I'm here to help you to say, don't do it anymore, right? Don't do this. Don't do this. And eventually you get to the place like, you know what, you're right. And that's when those changes can occur. This doesn't mean that I don't consider that I might die from cancer. I might have another tumor, right? These things don't ever just pop into my mind. They do. I mean, they pop up. It's reality. It's humanity. Everybody can say it doesn't happen. It's just a lie. The reality is that we have to make choices. And when those things come against us, you say, you know what? No longer am I going to entertain those thoughts. No, I said no to this. So I'm not going to. No, I'm moving to this direction. I choose not to. And that's where a lot of the transformation can occur in our lives, to move from those places where you've been in bondage to experience a place of freedom. Right. Yeah. So it doesn't mean, again, that I'm never going to have a problem health-wise. But what it does mean is I'm not going to live waiting for the problem.
And Matt, would you say choosing not to move away from where you're currently at, is that making a choice as well?
Well, absolutely, it's making a choice. But sometimes we don't realize that we're making choices that we're making. Mm-hmm. And that's where it's so valuable to have some of that input or accountability in our lives. Otherwise, we're very easy to lie to ourselves. It's very easy to deceive our own selves first, and believe a lie. So when we have people that kind of shine the light on the truth in our lives, it's much easier to make some of those choices. Eventually, we can do them on our own, right? But on the front side, it can be very, very difficult.
Yeah, beautiful. Matt, let's talk a little bit fast forward today, right? You're a performance coach, certified empowerment coach, business consultant, author, international speaker. You're disrupting social media with your content. Now, talk to us a little bit in all the lessons that you have learned throughout your journey and what brought you up to here. How are you currently, how are you able to empower other people? And what are some of the common patterns that you see when people seek out your help?
Yeah, I think first of all, my motivation in helping others is specifically others. I mean, I have learned more the value of appreciating the day, because yesterday's gone. Tomorrow, what's tomorrow? I mean, right? It's not even, it doesn't exist, right? All I've got is right now. So understanding how to be done, again, that doesn't mean that we ever ignore tomorrow. I mean, it's great to make plans and have goals and all that stuff. That's not what I'm saying. But the point is, when I have now, right? So in that now, if I'm on a call with Rob and we're talking to all kinds of people in the world, do these things, what what am I going to do? How am I going to provide things that are burning inside of me to share with you? Because this might be my last moment.
Yeah.
It might not be cancer. I might get hit by a bus 10 minutes after this thing. Who knows? I mean, God forbid, but we never know. So why not give you everything I've got at the moment that I have with you? Because this is all I might have.
Yeah.
Right. But it's so important for me to be able to understand how to effectively share what I have inside of me with others, because this may be your last chance, your opportunity, your best chance to move forward. And if I keep my mouth shut, or if I hold back, then I'm not just hurting me, right? So it's so important to understand how to value other people and to be able to share things with. So I listen for things from other people. I listen for the things that they say, how they say things, their body language is, the types of messages that they send to me on social media that may be actual cries for help. There's pride that's involved. A lot of people are very proud, and no, I just wanted to say I appreciate everything you do and enjoy your content, Matt. It's fantastic. It doesn't mean anything to me personally because I don't have no issues, but right? I mean, at the end of the day, some folks may really say, hey, Matt, I really need your help, but I'm just too afraid to ask for it.
Hey, Matt, I have to say you're quite funny as well. Very entertaining. So I appreciate that little twist there. But what would you say, Matt, for people currently in 2020? I think you would agree, right? It has been a very interesting year, and we hear all kinds of the story, right? The two sides. For some people, it has been the worst year possible. Maybe they have been laid off. Maybe they have lost a loved one in COVID-19. Maybe they got sick and they had to go through that storm. Or on the opposite side, some of the businesses out there, it has been their best year yet, or maybe people were able to take a different decision and finally pursue that dream. But what would you say for the people currently on the fence, right? They're still kind of in the position where they have always been for the past couple of years or so, but they have this dream, right? They have this little seed inside their mind. Now, in order to put things in motion and to really take that leap of faith and take that change of direction like you have done so often in your journey, what would you say is the best approach? If you would have to explain it to somebody step by step, what would you advise? This is where you would start, and this is what you will do and how to get there. Because I think fear is holding people back.
Yeah, I mean, first thing is this. Believe that it's possible. It is possible, right? If you don't believe it's possible, it's never going to happen. But if you do believe that it's possible, again, I told you before, it's simple. It's just hard. Doesn't mean that there's not going to be work involved. Mm-hmm. Personally, myself, having owned a few brick and mortar locations myself, businesses, I would not have wanted to have endured 2020 with my brick and mortar business. So difficult, and the pressure of people and your employees and your cost of goods sold, your vendors. I mean, all those things that are running at your face, and you're thinking, I can't even go to the grocery store, much less do anything else to keep this business afloat. It's a devastating moment, a place where you can feel completely isolated, so alone. You listen to stuff like this, and you're like, that's fantastic, Matt, but my life sucks right now. I can't do this. I can't pay the bills. I can't make this happen. I get it. It doesn't mean that it's not possible. It doesn't mean that perhaps, like even when it comes down to a garden, right? When you plant something, the seed first has to go in the ground. And what happens to that seed? It doesn't just become a tomato plant or a giant tree. The seed dies. It dies in the ground. And as that seed dies in the ground, something miraculously happens between the soil, the earth, the nutrients, the dead seed that sprouts into life. Sometimes we have to die first before life can be birthed. And it sucks. Like I said, it hurts sometimes. But if we can understand that there is life, there is hope, there is freedom, there are opportunities, then whatever you're doing is no longer, as you said, just this obstacle. It's an opportunity to say, maybe the right thing is to let this die right now. Maybe I let go of this thing and just believe that because I feel this fire in me, this passion, this desire, I've done this, I've done that. Right. Let all that turn into what is to come. And it may be better than you've ever imagined.
Wow. So good, man. And appreciate you for sharing that. So would you say start believing and you start seeing, as opposed to I will have to see it to believe it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's just times in life we have to believe without seeing. I'm living proof. I would be a dead man many times. I've been told I had 8 months to live. I told when I had the bleeding brain tumor, I was within 24 hours of death, but I didn't even know it. There's just different things that can happen in our lives that can be transformational, and moments that we don't realize that those experiences were there for another reason. It's just a great opportunity to say, okay,
Yeah.
let's do this.
And Matt, so going back to the learning process, right? If you look back and all these experiences, and there's so many in anyone's life, there's so many lessons to learn. But do you sometimes look back and reflect? Do you think that reflection, if you look back into the past experiences, do you think that reflection you can leverage that as a tool to actually move forward?
Yeah, I think that there's also a dangerous area there. There's some great aspects into reflecting back to those moments and saying, wow, look at where I've been able to come from, this, that, and the other. But there's also places that when we go back to reflect, we could end up camping out in places that could be very, very detrimental, places that were not healthy places that were places of darkness that became light. But if we go back and we dwell in those dark places,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to get pulled back into them and then not know how to get out.
Yeah.
So there's a great balance there, a reflection versus, just submersion, right? So when we reflect upon those things, we can say, man, thank you so much for where I've been from there to here. And now I have an opportunity to help people do this, versus saying, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do anything again. Look how horrible my life has been. I was bad back then. I was addicted to drugs and alcohol and sex and this, that, and all. Then you get into this whole dialogue with yourself that is ridiculous. There's one great phrase that I've used for many years, which has helped me through so much and so many people that I speak with, and it's this: don't curse it, don't nurse it, disperse it, and God will reverse it.
Wow. I love that.
It's the theater of the mind, my friend. A lot of times we go to our own movies and we play these things out. But, if you do those things I just said, don't curse it, don't nurse it, disperse it, and God will reverse it.
Beautiful. Wow. So good. Matt, we're currently close to halfway through October 2020, right? It has been a bumpy ride. I think that nobody can deny that. But what is up for Matt CRUMP, right? In this final, let's say 6-7 weeks that is left until we reach the holiday season. What is up for Matt CRUMP in terms of where do you want to take your business and your impact? Where do you see yourself that you can really make the difference in the next couple of months or so?
Yeah, I just want to be more present in the things that I get to do. I'm very blessed to have a tremendous amount of opportunity in front of me, and some incredible people that I have in my life that both are, friends, accountability, as well as those that come to me for my services and my help. So, my desire is to be as present as possible in those areas. Also, just personally to be able to enjoy my own life, to be more intentional about my boundaries in my own life, so that things that I'm trying to do for other people don't become everything about me. So I need to spend time with my wife, my son, my daughter, and enjoy some time with Matt, and to spend some time alone and go read a book that has nothing to do with coaching or counseling or business or entrepreneurship, or just it could be a comic book for just something stupid, just to get in your own place, right? So enjoying the moments, enjoying those times, because again, tomorrow's not promised. But we are in a great season right now in the world. We've got specifically the United States, we've got some great things coming up with Thanksgiving, a time of reflection and thankfulness. We've got Christmas, a time to celebrate freedom and life and experience great joys with family. And then January provides an opportunity that a lot of people have been waiting for, what's called a new year.
Yes.
Yeah, we're not ready for that, right? So, we're in a great place of celebration right now. And I think it's great to embrace the celebration, even in the midst of the pains and the heartaches that we might be facing or have faced.
Beautiful. Matt, I would like to do something fun, which I call it rapid fire questions. Would it be okay with you if I just fire some questions at you and you give me a very short and precise answer, just whatever comes to your mind? Would that be okay?
No. Okay, good.
I think that backstage we agree that you would say yes to anything I ask.
Right.
Awesome. Now, I love to do this because the reason for rapid fire questions is not to have the perfect answer, right? It's not to give you a chance to formulate and, beautiful statement, but whatever comes to your mind. So with your permission, when you're ready, let me know, and I will start with the first.
All right, go for it.
All right, number one, is it possible to make every day the best day starting today?
Absolutely. This is the only day you got.
Beautiful. Is it possible to make a difference in your business or your personal life starting today?
Yeah, if you don't, you'll never change it.
Beautiful. Is it possible to change the course of that direction just by altering your actions? By changing different actions, you will get different results.
Yeah, no doubt. If there's no wind, adjust the sails.
Beautiful. Matt, can you live in an abundant state, even though if your bank account is not reflecting that?
Yeah, there's no such thing as unjoy. There's unhappiness. So why not live in joy?
Beautiful. Matt, 2020 can either be the worst year or the best year yet. Either way, you're right.
Says Henry Ford, yes.
Exactly. And last question, Matt. Anybody can be an entrepreneur. It just takes a decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful. Awesome. Thank you so much. I think there's a lot of value in today. And before we kind of come to an end for this particular episode, Matt, can you give us a little bit of guidance for the people that currently they may have started the business, and honestly, I have spoken to a lot of people, including clients of mine, that just started the business in the pandemic. So actually they took something, like a disastrous moment, like the downturn of the economy and then the whole face mask and COVID-19. But they actually took that moment when they spent a lot of time at home to start a business. However, they have not yet reached that result, right? The expectation of business is a journey, supposed to be fun, but I'd like to see some results. Now, what would you advise to the people that have not seen a result yet? What would you advise them to do in order to keep going and start sprouting that seed, as you so beautifully explained?
Yeah, I would say that there are definitely some obstacles that are in the way, and a lot of times they're obstacles that you can't even recognize or know. It could come down as easily as going through and readjusting your entire calendar, your personal and work calendar. So what does every moment say in your life? For me, I speak to every minute. My day is spoken for. And what are you speaking for in your life? So if you look at that calendar, you look at those places that you're doing what's important to you, you may find some things that are not that important. You may find some meetings that could probably be deleted. It doesn't mean that those people aren't important, but it just means that that's not that important to you. So, readjusting, re-examining, focusing on some of those areas of your life. Is your time management good or poor? Those types of things are so vital to create the space that you need to be able to see clearly moving forward.
And Matt, do you believe in time management or self-mastery?
Both. You can't have one without the other, right? So self-mastery is a place where you are constantly evolving, I believe. I think there's self-mastery means that, I may have mastered some certain areas in my life today, but tomorrow I find out that there's another area I need to address. So what that comes down back to the whole time management aspect. So being the best you possibly can be, applying all the things you possibly can in your life without being so ridiculously overboard and doing, a million courses and reading 1,000 books and doing all these. There's some things that are great. Some things are just too much. Will really help you come back to have that space. Again, I believe it's so important to have space. It's important to have buffers built into your life. And in my schedule, I have buffer time where I can breathe. And to have those places of breathing are essential to be able to see that you can actually see clearly moving forward.
Beautiful. And Matt, as we always bring in fascinating entrepreneurs to the Entrepreneur Speaker Series, we're building a community to support, right? I think that we both share this in common, to help a tremendous amount of people and be of service, right? And the more people we can serve, the more impact we can create on this world. I would like to always give something back to the community. And I was wondering if there's something that you could provide or willing to provide to give back to the community in the form of your time, perhaps, or maybe of some of the things that you have written. Is there anything that we can share with the community to give people an experience and an introduction to Matt CRUMP?
Yeah, I mean, goodness gracious, I've got a ton of resources. I do have some available at my website at mattcrump.tv. Specifically, just as you mentioned that, I thought about one particular resource that I enjoy to share with folks, a book that I've written about 50,000 feet in the clouds and how to land that dream plane to experience reality. Because a lot of times in the entrepreneurial world, we love to fly at 50,000 feet. We love to chase the dream, chase the vision, have some great things. And as soon as you get that vision accomplished and you tell people about it, you're like, I'm off to the next thing. Right?
Yeah,
we never spend some time developing some of those great places that have come into our lives. So I like to help people learn how to land that dream plane and kind of live into some reality. Doesn't mean you can't take back off. It just means there's sometimes you got to land that thing.
Yeah.
I've written a book about that I think could be very helpful for some folks that may be flying in the clouds in positive ways and maybe some negative ways, and say sometimes it's okay to come on down here and land that thing once in a while.
Beautiful. And Matt, how can, if people want to take advantage of that, and I think that's very generous, but how can people get their hands on that?
Yeah, again, just the easiest place, besides finding me at LinkedIn, where I kind of live most of the day, would be to visit my website at mattcrump.tv. And there's some places there where you can click on some links and download stuff or message me, and be no problem.
Beautiful. Guys, so if you are here and you want to take advantage of this phenomenal resource, right? If you're feeling that you're currently flying high at 50,000 feet, but you're also thinking of you have to land that plane one day, right, to make something more solid, then take advantage of this. Find Matt on LinkedIn. Find him on Matt CRUMP TV, and I think by the looks of your banner, that awesome banner behind you, right? We cannot miss that URL. Somewhere here, somewhere there. So go and find Matt, right? And even if you're currently losing, winning, or learning, maybe connect with Matt and let him know some of the things that stood out to you here today. Let us know what you learned from this episode, because I think this interview was full of golden lessons. And Matt, before we go, can you close us out? A couple of words to the community for all the entrepreneurs that are working hard every day, right? And they're still seeking to reach that level of success, or maybe more prosperity or abundance in their life. What could you say to them to give them that empowerment to make the last couple of weeks of this year a sprint?
Yeah, I know what it feels like to work so hard, late hours into the night, beating your head against the wall. You've got this fire, this passion. If people just could hear what you have to say, it would make a difference. I know what that feels like. And sometimes it feels as if it's never going to happen. I would say that it is going to happen. Maybe not the way you think it is, but it will. Never stop believing in yourself. Never stop believing in the call in your life. Never give up. And I promise you, you'll be able to experience those greater things in your life than you ever thought were possible before.
Wow. So powerful, Matt. And I just got goosebumps here on my arm just from believing, right? And the tremendous energy that is released with that message. So thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Entrepreneur Speaker Series. And guys, again, if you got value out of this episode today, pay it forward by leaving us a review right here in the comments. Let us know what stood out to you, and also pay it forward by connecting with Matt either on LinkedIn or through his website, and let him know what stood out to you from the lessons learned on this episode. And once again, Matt, appreciate your time for jumping on, being generous with your time and resources. And I hope we can get to do this again sometime in the near future, right? As we're going through this journey, it would be great to see the lessons learned throughout that process, and see, what we can provide that will cause that breakthrough to live in more abundance and prosperity. So appreciate you, and thank you so much for joining us on today's episode.
Thank you so much, Rob. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. All right, guys, go and connect with Matt. Find him online, and I will see you on the next Entrepreneur Speaker Series. Same place, same time next Thursday. And for now, have a blessed week, guys, and be great. Thank you so much.